Okay, so I don't really remember how the story starts, but I'm going to start it at there's like a prison, and I'm sort of running around, and the place where I am is I'm at the bottom of Worcester Park, just by the station, which is where I grew up, where my dad's house is. So I'm at the bottom of Worcester Park, and I'm sort of running to and from, sort of in like a loop in a circle, and I'm running through this building, and there's like it's a bit like a prison, but there's like an indoor and there's an outdoor. And when I run out the outdoor, I'm sort of on like the edge of like a bank, like where it go down to the water. So I'm sort of I run past like a pub, and there's a load of lads sitting outside, and for some reason I'm really angry, and I run past these lads, and I see one of them like mock me and start, taking the piss. So what I want to do is I want to shout out and like, I don't know, make a noise. Um, so I do, but I sort of mock them back, and not very loudly either, quite quietly. Um, then at some point I go into a shop and I get a new phone. But it sort of links to my old phone, but it's not an iPhone, so it's I don't know, like a Samsung, or I don't know whether it is, but it's definitely different. It's like a new interface. So I'm running past these lads, and one of them gets up and starts sort of like running behind me, and I look over my shoulder, and I can see him sort of catching up to me. For some reason, this like really pisses me off. Um, and after the whole thing of like going through the prison, I was like, you know what, fuck it, today is the day. So he ends up running past me. He gets just past me, and I speed up, and I like grab him by the back of the jacket, and I pull him back, and I punch him a few times. I manage to get him to the floor, and I'm like kicking him and stuff like that. I notice that the police have been called, or whatever, and I know I need to run, so I get myself ready, and I run into this. I run round the corner, which in real life is like under the bridge and around into the train station. But as I'm running, I know I need to go somewhere. Like I need to get out of town. I either need to go like towards London, or the other way is towards Kingston. So, but as I run round the corner, um, I can see that it's getting. I need to be in like a well established, busy place to keep unnoticed. But as I go around the corner, it's like very quiet, and there's nothing around. There's no like buildings. There's no people. It's just sort of like it goes into like a main road. But what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a charity shop, or just a clothes shop. I was looking for a charity shop because I know that like, I don't know, you can find a lot in a charity shop. So I go around the corner, I go into the shop, and it goes into like the a bit like the American Office. So I'm walking through, and I notice this pile of clothes just sort of sitting there, and I just start like rummaging through it, and this woman walks in, and she greets me. She's like, "Hi, you alright?" I'm like, yeah, I'm not too bad. How you doing? She's like, yeah, I'm not too bad. What are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm just looking through the clothes, just trying to find things that sort of match. And she's like, oh, okay. So I managed to get like a few different bits of clothes. I get this really nice, like, it's like a trench coat, but it's like a really long dress, but it's sort of split in half. So there's like 4 buttons. It's like a quick outfit change. So I pick up a shirt. I pick up like skinny jeans. I pick up a t-shirt that's like a baseball tee. It's got red sleeves, a white shirt, a white front. Um, I pick up a green shirt, and I pick up this. I want to say it's like a bluey green ladies jacket. And at the time I was wearing a red baseball cap, the one that I have, the one that I own. So I'm grabbing bits and pieces, but the one thing that I can't find is shoes. But I wasn't worried, so I pick up these clothes and I sort of turn to leave with them, and another lady catches my eye. She's like, "Oh, what are you doing here? Um, what are you doing with all these clothes?" Uh, and I didn't recognise her at first, but I'll tell you who she was in a second. So I explained that I need a mirror. I need a mirror because I need to see how I'm going to pin the clothes together. Trying to make myself out as like the clothes designer or something. And so she takes me into this like studio. She takes me into the studio, and along the wall there's like shoes, but they're all like different sizes, and they're all unmatched. Like the left and rights aren't the same size. God knows why, but I say I need a toilet, I need a bathroom, I need a mirror. She's like, oh, okay. And she pulls out this like pop-up toilet, and she opens up the door, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is very short. Like, I'm not going to be able to stand up in it. And then she pulls the door back, like she pulls the door to the right. No, she pulls the door to the left, and then she pushes the ceiling upwards, and it, I don't know, transforms into this like private dressing room. So I go in there, and I get changed. I come out, and she's like chatting away to me, and I walk along the mirror, and I'm looking at these shoes, and I can tell in her voice that she's getting quite panicky, and she's saying like, "Why are you doing this? Like, what are you looking for?" And originally, as I'm like going into the changing room just before I get changed, she's like, "How are you going to do ballet in those clothes?" And I was like bigging myself up, and I'm like, "Well, anybody can do ballet. I can do ballet in any clothes." Yeah, so I'm like, I can do ballet in any clothes. Um, I'll show you. And then as I'm looking for a pair of shoes, she's getting panicky, and I turn around to her and I say, "Listen, like it doesn't concern you. Don't worry." And then I realise that it's Meryl Streep, and I'm like, "Oh God, I genuinely felt really bad." And she's like grabbing onto me, and she's like trying to push me back as I'm trying to get out the door. And I managed to find these pair of shoes, but I'm tearing these shoes apart because all I need is the soles. So I'm like ripping the tops off the shoes, but then I find a pair of shoes, a really nice pair of like black boots. So I put those on, and I start sort of like running out again. I've got this. Oh, well, originally I said it was like dark, like a blue green, but now I think it was pink. Or I think it might have changed. I know the bucket hat was definitely pink. And I feel like the coat was like a pink and white, almost floral print now. So I'm running out, and I see this bus, and I get on it, and oh, this is where the dream gets like so cool, because I get on this bus, and I'm like, I feel this relief because I'm like, do you know what? I'm getting out of town. Oh, well, so as I was in I'm going to call it the charity shop, the studio, as I'm in there, I find a suitcase and like a tote bag and a handbag. So I grab them all together, I put them all inside each other. I go and get on this bus, and I'm like, at first I'm trying to ignore the people, and I'm trying to like, keep quiet, keep to myself. Um, and we're like driving down the road, and suddenly I look out the window, and everything is like gold, like stunning, beautiful. It's well, I know where I was because I eventually asked where I was, but there's like these big signs which say like cash, and a bit like you would, a bit like Las Vegas. Like I was like in the central of Casino Town, and I'm like looking, and there are people in suits and tuxedos, and these like big fancy dresses, and they're dancing and mingling, and I can see them eating little food, and they've got like wine glasses and champagne glasses, and everything was just luxury. And I'm looking around, and in the middle of the streets, there's like these giant tables, which have like if if you're sitting down at the table, in front of you you've got like your you have your like your plates and your glasses and your cutlery, but then in front of you there's like buffet of food. Um, there's like bottles of wine, and this table is just like ransacked full of like just luxury everything. And I'm like, in my head, I'm not saying it out loud, but I'm like, oh my god, where am I? What is going on? I can't believe I'm here. What am I doing? And I'm looking around, and I'm looking at these people, and I'm trying to look for faces now. And I, I'm looking into the crowd of people, and I think I see my dad, but I know that I've like not seen my dad for a very long time. Um, but I see him just like sitting down, mingling with people, and I think he catches my eye. So I end up like literally standing up, and I'm like looking over the rail, trying to like catch or keep eye contact with him. And I think he does too, because he locks eyes with me, and he like tracks as the bus goes along. Um, so now I'm like really looking for people, like on both sides. I'm not looking at the buildings as much anymore, or like the food. I'm literally just looking for people, and I think I see my granddad as well. But my granddad's not really in like, he's not in a suit or a tie. He's in sort of like very neutral, muted clothes. I don't know what he was doing, but he wasn't facing the bus. He was he was walking with the bus as it went round a corner. Um, so I managed to sort of like clock that it was him. Um, but we're going like down this road, and we're obviously, I mean, I'm thinking at this point, I'm like, I should ring the bell. Like I should get off. I should go and find everybody. But I don't. And we sort of, well, I mean, I was looking for, I was looking for the bus stops and I couldn't see any, so I think that's why I didn't stop. But also, I remembered that I was like, running from the police and I'd beaten up this guy. So it probably wasn't the best. I felt safe on this bus going somewhere. And eventually I started like chatting with these people, just like on the bus. Oh no, this is before I started chatting with people. We start to like get out of town, so it didn't go to like less luxury or whatever, but there was this. We came up to this big gate, and you could see that there was like water underneath it, and it was like huge. I don't know what it was blocking out, but the bus like pulls up to this gate, and it opens, and we're literally driving like in the sea. But it's weird because obviously like the bus isn't sinking or whatever, but we're very much like in water. Like there's no roads or buildings or lights, and we're driving, and for just that second that we're in the water, uh, it gets dark, like how it does at sea. It gets dark and it's like pitch black, and it's like, I really like fell asleep for that second. Like I tipped my head back. I felt so calm. So I wake back up eventually, and I'm now listening to this guy, and I'm listening to what's going on. And he's telling me, we drive I want to say it's like a bridge, like the underneath of a bridge. You've got all like the scaffolding and all the beams. So the bus like pulls into this like gap. Oh, actually, when we were driving through that like Casino City, there was like bunting up, like that went from one side of the street to the other. I can't remember what was on it, but I remember ducking. I remember every time I got near to one, I would literally like duck my head back because I thought it was going to hit me. So the same thing happened when we got to like underneath this bridge, and the tour guide, I guess it was the bus driver. He was like tour guide, and he's like telling us about this like, in this part of town, people sort of like do things for themselves, and there's this turtle, this like world renowned famous turtle, that we have hidden under here, that's like best friends with a warthog. So he like turns flashlights on, and we're sort of like walking around now. I mean, I was on the bus. I was like on the edge of the bus. Like I didn't want to get off, and this woman sort of turned around to me and she was like, "You can like walk on the ground. Like it's okay. It's safe now." And I was like, "Oh my god, okay." So I actually get off the bus. I leave like my bags and my suitcase on the bus, and I'm just sort of like walking around. We're having a look at stuff, and I think there was another bus that pulled up. So we're like mixing with like the other crowd as well, just having a chit chat, talking about like the animals and I don't know how cool stuff is. And then we get on the bus. We get back on the bus, and so I remember about my phone, and I'm like, oh god, thank god I don't have my old phone, but I do have my new phone. So I click on my phone, and all of my details are on there. Like it says Reese O, and it's got a little picture of me, and I'm like, oh god, I should have just like, I should have set the phone up from like brand new or whatever. Like, it scared me a bit. I felt like I was in trouble. So I put the phone down, and I'm like, right, I don't need the phone. So I just leave it sort of like tucked under my arse cheek, and I'm like, I'm gonna forget about it. don't worry. Now, oh my god. So, we're on the bus back, and the bus is about to pull back up into Worcester Park, and this lady behind me is saying, "Oh, here's a piece of paper. Write down your name, and you will get a transfer to Cush, to bloody Cush." So I'm trying to remember the name that I'd come up with for myself, and I could not remember it. And obviously, I very much looked like a man in ladies' clothes. So I I couldn't remember if I'd come up with a woman's name, which obviously is stupid. I shouldn't. I wouldn't have gone for a woman's name. I still would have gone for a man's name, and I would have just made it seem like I was, I don't know, stylish, not a man in woman's clothes, just like, I don't know, feeling myself, whatever. And she like starts going at me, like proper. She's like, "Well, you know what a transfer is, and you know where Cush is. Like, just write your name down." And I was like, I could not for the life of me think of this name that I'd come up with. So as I'm like rambling and talking and like trying to make a distraction, she's like trying to get this name out of me. But she ends up sort of like doing it for me, and she writes down like a really shitty, shady comment, which is like, I don't know, forget my name or something. Like, she writes down that my name is, that I can't remember my name. So I'm like, everybody gets off the bus, and as in fashion, I am the last person off the bus. But as everybody's getting off, there's like this lost and found basket, and one of the handbags that I'd taken was in that basket, and I saw this girl grab it and go to take it. So I probably like gave her the evils and I like snatched it back. I changed everything round this time. Obviously, I didn't change my clothes, but I put everything inside of the suitcase. Just because I wanted it to look different when I got off the bus. Because ideally, I didn't want to go back to where I started. I wanted to, go to a different location. So as I'm packing up, I see this police car, and I see it like, it sort of zooms past the side of the bus. I was like, oh, please just carry on, please carry on, please carry on. And obviously it doesn't. It goes past the bus, and then it like does a U-turn and sort of comes back and parks in front of the bus, and I'm like, oh my god. So I go down the stairs, I step out, and I walk straight up to the police car, because on the bus back I was thinking to myself, I was like, I should just hand myself in. I've had 5 minutes of madness where, this guy was mocking me, and I took the violence a bit too far in a public place. And then, I scared Meryl Streep because I basically tried to take her clothes from Lost and Found. I then tried to take her like ballet shoes, which were obviously her students. So I just walked straight up to the police van. The woman in the back slides the door open to me. The guy who's driving in the front sort of turns around to me, acknowledges that it's me. He doesn't go like, "You're the person we're looking for," but he's like, he acknowledges that it's me. I've got my suitcase and my backpack. I think I had a backpack. But he basically turns around and he's like, right, I appreciate what you're doing, but I'm not letting you get in this van without me like searching you first. So I'm like, yeah, I understand that. So I walk over to like a table. It's not a table. It's like, I don't know, like a statue or something. But I put my suitcase on there. I'm like embarrassed because there's still people around. I unzip the suitcase and letting him like search through. Then that's pretty much where I woke up, and that was the end.